Ready? Good to see you. It is Monday, the 20th of December, 2021. We have just 11 days left in this crazy year. Can you believe it? It's good to see you guys here. Come on in. I am Mary Grace, and this is Real Talk with Mary Grace. This is a live show. If you catch me on the replay, please drop a comment in whatever chat you're in. Let us know that you were here, and if you have any questions or comments about the content, that would be great. So hope everybody will share this today, and we've got a lot to talk about. So please do share it. Please get the word out that we're live. It looks like people are slowly coming in. Sometimes the notifications lag. Just so that you can put it on your calendars, I will be live on Wednesday and Thursday of this week at 1 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you put it on your calendar, and we will get the ball rolling at that time. I hope that everybody had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. I was getting ready for Christmas and working on presents and a little bit of food preparation and things like that. So I hope that you guys had a good weekend as well. Got to see some family, and that was nice. Oh, JC on YouTube just recovered from the virus. Glad to be alive. Good. Glad you made it. um, you're not worried about, did you get the Omicron? Apparently that's a nothing burger. So, all right, let's see. What am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff. You guys just missed Barley George, by the way. He was just up here on the desk trying to get into my water, but he didn't succeed, so he jumped off. But he was just here. You just missed him. He was walking all over the desk, big, giant orange cat. So he says hello, but he's off to do other things now. We're going to talk a little bit about a lot of things today. We're going to talk a little bit about Melania. I'm going to talk about just some of the things that I've observed about some of the tactics that are being played out right now from the regime, the cabal, whatever you want to call it. It's very interesting. I think I'm just starting to see some things. I'm starting to observe some things that you may find helpful when I explain it to you. I want to talk about what happened yesterday on the Hill with Joe Manchin with the Build Back Better bill. It was, I believe, a pretty good victory for everybody. So as you're coming in, please say hello. Please leave a comment. Please, join the chat. If you're on Facebook, please like the channel. Same thing with everything. So we're on Facebook, CloudHub, YouTube, and Periscope/Twitter. Most of my accounts are under Mary Grace Media. I also have a Rumble account. Pretty much everywhere you go, you can find me under Mary Grace, Real Mary Grace, or Mary Grace Media. The CloudHub channel is 111, so you have to follow the channel and follow the account. There's two different things. It's the profile for Mary Grace Media and then the channel 111. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, when you come on, I know this is a little housekeeping, but I want to make sure people get this. If you hit a thumbs up for the show, that's awesome. That helps with engagement. But I also wanted to ask you, if you like the content, go ahead and like the channel, follow the channel, the page, whatever you want to call it, because that's a different task. It's two different things. All right. So don't forget also to follow my to follow my Telegram channel, Mary Grace Media Official. That is my Telegram channel, and I do post different information on there. So make sure you're following that. Now, what do I want to start with today? I wanted to start with something that I've noticed. There's something interesting happening that started happening over the weekend. And there's something interesting that happened over the weekend, and that was this. It happened within the space of a couple of hours, and that is that 3 prominent Democrats announced that they had come down with the China virus. And the talking points were almost identical for each one. And that is, I'm fully vaccinated. I'm like triple vaxxed. uh, I started feeling a little bad, and I took the test, and dang it, I'm positive. But I am so thankful that I got vaccinated. Um, and I'm so thankful for the protection that the vaccine afforded me. It's like the same DNC talking point, same the talking points from the regime are the same. And so, naturally, people are going to get a little suspicious of this. Like, I mean, it was like boom, boom, boom. We're all, we're all sick, but because we're vaccinated, we're not as sick. And those of us who've been paying attention know that, they're telling us that the vaccine, is going to, they're no longer telling you that it will prevent the virus. What they're telling you now is that if you get it, you're going to be thankful. If you get the vaccine and then you do get sick, which most people are, is that you're going to be thankful that you got it because you're protected. And I think this is an interesting, I'm going to take you down a little trail right now that I think people need to be aware of, especially to be in prayer about, because the statement that they put out didn't talk about being protected from the virus. It just said, I'm thankful for the protection that it gives me. And, in a normal world, I wouldn't even think twice about that. You would think, oh, they got the virus. Oh, they're sick. Oh, But here's the thing that happened over the weekend as well. This is very interesting. And this is a statement that was put out by the White House. And it's on whitehouse.gov. We are intent on not letting Omicron disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing, and we will get through this. Virtue signaling. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. There's so much in that statement to unpack. But the thing that stands out to me the most about it is that, first of all, so much for the unity, right? It was going to be the party of unity, the administration of unity. Okay, that's thrown out the window. Clearly, there is a message here that is, it's a threat. In my opinion, this is a threat. And the messaging that's coming out from Senator Karen, also known as Elizabeth Warren, and Cory Booker, these are people who are just, outright communists. There's no middle ground with these people. They're putting out a statement saying, I'm thankful for the protection. And so right now, the language that you're seeing is mafia language. Do you understand? They are literally telling you through their spokespersons, through their propaganda arm, that there is something sinister and deadly planned for the people that don't comply. And this is including the survivors who have antibodies. That's why they're not getting the shot. And the free thinkers. Think about that. This is because they know, and according to actual doctors who've treated patients and who've looked at the data, they know that there is it's probably close to, in the United States, at least 150 million that have immunity. And, they tell you the numbers, they tell you how many people are vaccinated, and they make it sound like a lot, but is it really that many? If that many, if the numbers that they're giving you were correct, why would they be worried? If as many people as they tell you have complied, they were out there for a while, tooting their own horns. We've put this many shots in arms, and we have this many people compliant. Well, the truth is, if that were true, then why would the Biden regime make an official statement, cursing. This is a curse on you and your family if you didn't get the shot. Why would they put out an official statement saying that you're facing death? You're facing severe illness and death, even though the government of South Africa came out and said that Omicron is a nothing burger, that they're not recommending restrictions, lockdowns, etc. Now, if you're following this logically, you can only conclude that A, they're lying about how many people have been vaxxed. B, they're lying about, and I'm talking about the Biden regime, the Brandon regime, they're lying about how severe or not severe this variation is. And because of that, I mean, they're panicking. They're panicking because their goal of population control and complete and total subservience and getting people on their passport system, which is a social credit system, their target for doing that has fallen short. And so they're literally threatening you and your family. This is a threat. And I wouldn't have taken this so seriously, except I was listening to Pastor Robin Bullock, and his sermon from Sunday, I recommend it to everybody. His church is called, let me see, Church International. It's on YouTube. And I know he has a website as well, Robin D. Bullock. He was talking, and this is about, it's more than it's about 2.5 hours into the broadcast. They do a long service. He was talking about a lot of things, but he told the congregation about a word that the Lord had given him, that they are going to release something that is heavy and hard and deadly. And it was very interesting because he gave this word. He got this word several days ago, if not last week. And he just talked about it on his sermon yesterday. And what I find very interesting is that the White House then comes out with this statement saying that you're facing sure suffering and death. And the word that he gave was literally that their variants have failed, that their death and destruction with all of the different things that they released have failed. And now they know not only have the shots failed, but the numbers of cases that they're getting are not congruent with the narrative, which is that it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. The other thing that's happening is they're getting all this pushback. They're getting pushback from the NFL players. That's a big one, because now that Aaron Rodgers, hey Millie, now that Aaron Rodgers has come out and been so vocal about his position with this, and he also exposed what they were doing and how they were treating the players who were unvaccinated. I mean, they were just shunning them basically, and they were forcing them to do all this ridiculous stuff. Just and they were isolating them from their community and their team. They couldn't go out to eat with them. They couldn't do anything with them. And so I think that there's they're reaching a critical mass of resistance to get to this stage where they're tipping their hand, and they've got their henchmen out there saying, "I'm so thankful for the protection that I get from getting jabbed, from getting the shot, from falling in line, from obeying, from paying my tribute to the mob bosses that are running this country." You guys tracking with me on this? And, so it's not, if you look at the sequence of events and you look at the timing of things that are going on, it makes sense to me why they're switching the narrative and they're coming out with these. It's not even a veiled threat. it's a pretty obvious threat. And so, they're telling you you're surely going to die. And then they're putting their propaganda spokespeople out there to give you the message of, but you don't have to if you obey, because when you do what we say, you're going to get protection. I mean, it's classic, mob behavior. It's crazy. So, I just wanted to point that out there, because the thing. Let me go back to the NFL, because this is a big issue. I mean, this is the percentage of players who ever make it to the NFL is very small. And think what you want about some of the players, about the Kaepernick stuff, about the woke stuff, about the way that the NFL is conducted. Just leave that off the table for a minute. I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about the individuals who have sacrificed and had dreams for their entire lives. Like, this is what they have wanted to do from childhood. They play little league football. They start out, when they're like 7, 8 years old. They have a dream, and some of them go to college ball, some of them just make it to high school ball, but a very small percentage actually get to the NFL, and that's true with any elite level sport. And so I'm talking now about people, who are living their dream of playing football at a very high elite level. And so I don't want to debate about the salaries, what the perks, whatever. That's not what I want to debate about. What I want to talk to you about is the fact that these people are rising up because they're being told that because of a bogus test that they're being forced to take, which they were told that they wouldn't have to take if they got the jab, they're now all being forced back into like pre-jab caution measures. It's a big problem because they're seeing the hypocrisy, and their careers are on the line here. You have a short window. I mean, unless you're a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers, every practice, every game, you could have a career-ending injury. Anything could happen. It's like thoroughbreds. There's one torn tendon could have an impact on whether you start or don't, or whether you finish your career or don't. And for these people, this is, every single day that they show up to work, it's their job. They're being told that the rules keep changing, the goalposts keep changing. And I think it's very interesting that they're doing this to the NFL, because, these are players who actually play a game. They understand rules, and they understand what's fair and what isn't fair. And so you have to get, at some point, they're going to get to the point, which they have already, a person in that position is going to get to the point where they go, wait a minute, I understand rules and I'm willing to play within the rules, but you keep changing them, and you're now penalizing the people that did everything they could to fall within your rules. And so they push back, and they went to the unions and said, no, we are not participating in this anymore. And so the unions, I think what ended up happening is that they said, okay, players who test positive, who are asymptomatic, can still play. I mean, because what they were doing, it was affecting everything, and it's happening at the college level too. But it's a big deal. It's a big deal that the players have done this, because I've talked to you before about the tipping point. I've talked to you about how when a certain percentage of people get to an understanding or take an action, that it changes the entire narrative. It shifts everything, and it's not as big a percentage as you would think. It's normally like 10 to 15%. That's what Malcolm Gladwell talked about in his book, The Tipping Point. That is what you're dealing with here, and of course, when you have an elite cadre of athletes who are making their voices heard, you don't even need 10 to 15% of a population because they have a bigger voice. And, when you have like the Baker Mayfields of the world tweeting about it or going on Instagram and saying, this is wrong, we've done everything you've asked, it gets attention because, it's a business. The people that run the NFL, they're running a business. And, the boards, the board members, the shareholders, everything, it's a big business. And so eventually they have to make a decision about this. Can you guys hold on a minute? I've got some background noise. I'm going to have to take a break here and deal with it. So just give me a second. I know it's not bothering you guys, but it's just not my jam. I'll be right back. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Just okay. Every now and then things happen. Okay, sorry. No, it wasn't barley. So anyway, my point is, if you're just coming in, I apologize for the blank screen. I'm Mary Grace. I'm doing Real Talk with Mary Grace. My point is that the narrative is unfolding, is unraveling, but what you're dealing with is you're dealing with a big sinister plan that is so evil and so calculated that they're never it's what do you call it? It's a zero sum game. And people have to understand that. Like they're the cabal, the regime, whatever you call it, it's not just Brandon. I think you know that. But the plan that was hatched when COVID hit the scene, it had such generational worldwide implications, and it's done by people that just they want you dead. They want you to be either a slave or dead. and and so why do I say that? I'm not trying to make you despair. I'm not trying to give you a black pill. I'm trying to make you understand that that evil, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. So their goal isn't, just to get people vaccinated. You should have figured out by now, it has nothing to do with an illness. It has everything to do with getting 100% compliance, in their system. And, I think they actually made a mistake in implementing the credit score, the financial credit score, because that's like involuntary. The minute you open up any kind of bank account or take any debt or credit card or anything like that, school loans, whatever, you get, I think even like the minute you get a social security number, you get into the credit score system, the FICO score. That wasn't a thing when I was in high school, college. Like that wasn't a thing. It came about during the internet age, and it basically controls your life. It's like if you have a low credit score, um, the system is set up that you can't buy a house, you can't get a loan, you can't do anything outside of their system. And the reason that I think that was a mistake is because it's had enough of an impact on people. It's had enough of an impact on people that people have seen, okay, wait a minute, if they have this much control over me with just the financial system as it is, why would I voluntarily subject myself to an entire social credit system? Why would I open the door for them to do like 10 times more, like to control my whole life? Because people can sort of kind of get out from under the FICO system, sort of. It's not easy, but when you're completely under their entire social credit system, that everything in your whole life is controlled about whether you are getting about what you are able to do, about what you're just the day-to-day functioning, whether you can go into a store, whether you can get whether your taxes are higher or lower, whatever it is. Like, it controls everything. It's worse than the Chinese social credit score. And the sad thing is that this is being implemented in places outside of China, and that is what they are. That's what they want here. So I need you to understand this, that your compliance in the system of getting the shots, it doesn't like the number of shots isn't an issue, because the key, the end game here is the digital passport. That's the end game. The end game is you've got to flash that digital passport to exist in their world. And I know that I sound like a conspiracy theorist, because there was a time when I would have thought, okay, this is crazy. But no, it's not. That's the end game here. And I remember, talking to you guys about this when they were talking about the face masks, and they were making it so that you couldn't go into a store without the mask on. And I said, this is not good. This is a harbinger of things to come. It has nothing to do with safety. It has everything to do with compliance. It has everything to do with controlling you. And that is what people need to understand. Now, is it, are we supposed to be scared of this? No, we're not, because we're not under the control of that. And, we are not subject to the curses of the Biden regime telling us that we're surely going to die. And right now I'm talking to Christians. I'm talking to Christians who have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, who know and understand your place of authority seated next to him in heavenly places, that you are not under the enemy's feet, but the enemy is under your feet, and that you have authority. You're under the wings of God's protection. That's Psalm 91. And so what I think it's important to understand now is there's so much that people are becoming aware of. And the real test here is the test of your faith. What is it that you are? Um, what is it that you are going to cling to? What authority are you going to stand on? What is it that you're going to do? And the sad thing is that when all of this started, um, it was so easy. It was so easy to get the church to comply because the majority of the church, and I'm talking about the church universal, the Christian, the body of Christ, the majority don't understand your identity in Christ. The majority don't understand that you're actually saved by grace and that you have been completely transformed by his blood, by his body, and by his broken body, and by his sacrifice. And most Christians who are steeped in what I call churchianity, they get saved and then they spend the rest of their lives identifying as a sinner who still needs saving. And that is actually what I believe the cabal, the globalist cabal, capitalized on. They were able to manipulate, especially Christians and the church, into believing that that it was the right thing to do, and that we needed to comply and cooperate in order to be good Christians. That if you didn't, you were a sinner. And that's a really simplified version of what I've been thinking. But it's important to understand this, because when any body of people either give away their power and authority or don't even understand it, like a lot of Christians haven't even given away their authority because they don't even embrace it or understand it in the first place. Christians don't understand that when you receive Jesus, when you come into a relationship, a covenant relationship with God, that you take a place of authority, that you are in the family, that you're not begging for a place at the table. You're seated at his right hand, that he prepares a table before you in the presence of your enemies. That's a position of strength and authority. That is what David understood when he went up against Goliath. That is what Daniel understood when he got thrown into the lion's den. That is what Gideon understood when he trusted God to rout the Midianites with trumpets and lanterns. That is the position of power and authority that those people understood, and they didn't even have the true revelation of Jesus Christ, of the price that was paid by his blood, the redemption that took place when he went into the courts of heaven and into the gates of hell, and his sacrifice was deemed as a final payment for sin. And this is something that Robin Bullock talked about in his sermon yesterday as well. But it's important to understand because it's a legal transaction. And because people don't understand that, because people don't understand that a legal transaction took place. This is in the book of Romans, I believe, chapter 2, if you want to look at it. A legal transaction took place. And it's like if you understand the courtroom, you understand that when a person is rendered not guilty, that it's a final verdict. There's no double jeopardy. And the Bible says that that is what Jesus did for you. That he was actually not just that he went and pleaded your case, but that he actually stood in your place before the judge. That's something that people are missing. That he actually took your place. And so it was not only that you were forgiven, that the sin was forgiven, but that it was as though it never existed. That's a big deal. And it's something that people don't understand. And going back to the manipulation that took place at the hands of the globalist cabal, in the beginning of this pandemic. It was, in my opinion, very calculated because, the enemy of believers knows and understands the buttons. The thing that the enemy loves is a Christian who doesn't understand what I just explained to you, who doesn't understand that we are no longer a sinner saved by grace. I'm not a sinner. That's not my identity. I am a Christian. I am alive in Christ. I am a priest unto my God. So there's a lot that took place on the cross and before the judgment seat of God that Christians don't get. And because of that, Christians are easy to manipulate because all they have to do is be manipulated into thinking that they have to do penance or earn their salvation through works, through doing the right thing, through, wearing the mask, taking the jab for others. That's just BS. It's total manipulation. And I'm seeing it play out time and time again. And, there's a spirit of murder behind what these people are doing. They want you dead. They just want you dead. And so they're not even trying to hide it anymore. They're coming out. They're coming out in and saying it plain as day. I mean, the White House put out a statement that you're gonna die. You're gonna suffer and die unless you buy into our protection racket. That's really what they're telling you. And I just think it's amazing that they're not trying to hide it at all. At first they were, right? Stay in your house. Stay in your house. Do it for others. Take care of the less fortunate. Like there's so many buzzwords that they use that they know will manipulate Christians and it's not because Christians don't, we're commanded to be kind. We're not, the Bible says they will know you by your love for one another. I'm not talking about not being loving. I'm talking about the fact that people don't know who they are and they don't understand that Jesus paid the price. And so they adopt a religious mindset, which means, I've got to keep doing these things. I have to keep jumping through these hoops. It's a mindset. Like if you can picture this, let me give you a picture. Let me go back to the courtroom scene. Imagine if you went to a courtroom and, you were charged with a really bad crime and the jury came out and said, we find the defendant not guilty. Well, that's it. That's it. You breathe a sigh of relief. Like, you guys saw the video of Kyle Rittenhouse, like melting into his lawyer's arms, right? And just really having such a massive, massive wave of relief. That is the feeling that you get, right? Well, imagine having that verdict rendered and then going back and waking up every morning and saying, okay, I got to go back to court and see if I'm going to be found not guilty today. I'm so nervous. I can't even, I'm so bad. I committed that crime. I might be found guilty today. Even though you were found innocent once, not guilty, like once and for all. It's done. It's finished. It's paid for. Do you get that? And so the mentality of people being manipulated by these thoughts and ideas, it makes sense, doesn't it? So when you see entire churches being closed, when you see Christians being manipulated into wearing something that they shouldn't be wearing, into putting something in their body because it's the right thing to do. Well, guys, we don't operate on karma. You're not coming back reincarnated as something. You are, the price was paid for you. And if you don't already have that, if you haven't already received that, this is the time to do that. God is inviting you to do that. to come and to receive what he did, and to be in relationship with him, and to stop striving, cease striving, and know that I am God, and to acknowledge, yeah, I come before you guilty, and I want to receive what it is that Christ did for me on the cross, in obliterating and replacing me, um, on the stand, and taking all of that guilt for me, all of it. So I just think that I think people really need to understand that. Okay. And with that being said, the other thing that's been on my mind is that I've noticed lately, um, that people seem to be getting kind of overwhelmed, and it's like there's information overload happening, and it's very easy to go down a path of, reading and watching, and just taking in information nonstop. I mean, I'm kind of an information junkie, so I have to really pull back sometimes from doing that. And there's different reasons that we do it, but there's just a lot coming at us. There's shows to watch. There's the balance of taking care of your family, doing things with your family. There's so much that's just coming at you, all the time. Would you not agree? And there's a lot of there's just a lot of things that are pulling at you. And I've been thinking a lot lately about when I used to live in Europe. And the first time I went to Europe, it was in the 90s. And I want to tell you this. I want to tell you this little story because I think it'll help some of you guys. Um, when I first went to Europe, I was very excited. I went to Italy. I went to live in Italy, and I had never been to Europe. I didn't go during undergrad when I was in school, and I was very excited, and I wanted to be as prepared as possible. So I got Italian language tapes and played them in the car, and learned some Italian, and I got all the guidebooks. And the one that I got that I liked the most was Rick Steves. Do you guys remember Rick Steves, A Guidebook to Europe? He was really good because he kind of taught you how to be a budget traveler, to be a smart traveler, to really think about the logistics, but also itineraries. And so one of the things that he had in his books was itineraries, and he would map it out like on a day-to-day basis. So when you went to Rome, you would go like from one site to the other, boom, 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 right? And he was really good because he would sort of he had a good historical perspective, and he would kind of walk you through, like, chronologically through a city and through the museums, and so there was a lot of art history and culture interwoven into his guidebooks. It wasn't just go here, see this, right? And so when I went, I had read his book. I had absorbed a great deal of it. And when I was living in Rome, I mean, it's overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. I mean, you're living in a foreign country, you're speaking another language. You're traveling, like I was traveling by train almost everywhere. You're learning a new currency. Actually, at that time, you were learning multiple currencies because they didn't have the euro. And so, everything was being done. You had to change money at every border. It was amazing. I wanted to go back to that. But the whole point is, it was information overload 24/7. And anybody who's ever lived in another culture and had to speak a different language and think in a different language, that alone is exhausting. And for a lot of you who are coming into this arena of politics, of starting to understand what's going on around you, that alone is exhausting because it's a different language, and you're learning it and paying attention to it for the first time. Well, then you throw in the element of there's a very strong compulsion to take part in and see as much as you can when you're in Europe. And so if you have a weekend and you're going to go to Milano, for example, you plan it all out. You get a place to stay. You get a you get on the train. Um, you're watching. You're going through your guidebook. You're mapping out your day. You want to see as much as you can in the time that you have. And if anybody's ever seen, Chevy Chase's European Vacation, how like they're just racing around, checking off everything they could. And when I was in Europe, I saw that a lot. I actually saw people and met people on, because I was traveling on trains and ferries and things like that. I had a Eurail pass, and I had an Italian kilometric pass, and I was traveling around. And so, I'd meet people my age and younger who were traveling, and they had their checklist, and they were just go. They were like, okay, did you go to the Duomo? Did you go to this? Did you go to that? Like in Florence, there's specific museums you want to go to, the Accademia, um, the the Uffizi, like all of those different places you want to check off your list. And here's the thing, though. Here's what happened to me. And I'm getting somewhere with this story because I absolutely love Italy. It's one of my favorite places ever. And what I started to realize was, as I was going through, I think it happened to me. I was in Venice when this happened, when I had this epiphany, because what was happening was I was going along, and I had my little guidebooks, I had my Rick Steves, and I had a notebook, and I had a backpack, I had everything with me that I needed. And so I'm going through it. This is not my Rick Steves book, but like you start out your day, you've got your map, you're getting you're got to go here, 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 and like honestly, there's not enough time. I mean, you're Italy is a living museum. There, every corner has something important. Every little fresco, on a wall beside a cafe could have historic and artistic significance. I mean, there's the bridge where I used to live in Rome, Ponte Vecchio. It was built in 300 BC, right? I used to walk across it all the time. There's just like you're living in history. And so what started to happen to me when I was in Venice, I remember going to this one little church, and it was a small church, and I was sitting in there, and the artwork, the frescoes in this church were beautiful, and it was I think it was Santa Maria Maggiore is the church I think I was in. I would have to look that up. I just pulled that out of memory. But I was in this church, and I was just loving being in the church. And I started looking at my list, and I realized there was no way that I was going to get through my list and check off everything that was significant in Venice in the time that I had. It just wasn't going to happen. And so I was sitting in this church, and I just remember having this very strong sense that I needed to change my whole approach, and that I needed to, Ponte Milvio is what I meant, Delia, Ponte Milvio. I've been in Ponte Vecchio. That one's old too. That's where I bought my cross, actually, Ponte Vecchio. Right there. Anyway, Ponte Milvio was the one by my house. So let me go back to what I was saying, that I was sitting there, and I just decided, I was like, I got to change my whole approach. I am going to, from now on, I'm going to enjoy where I am, and I'm going to soak it in, and I'm going to make the most of what I have available to me and where I am in this moment. I'm not going to sacrifice the beauty and the splendor and the richness of what I'm in right now, just for the sake of checking off my list and getting to the next thing. And it was it was one of the it was one of the most it was one of the most freeing things that I ever decided to do. Because and the reason that I'm talking about this now, you may be thinking, okay, wait, going to Italy, being in the middle of all that art and beauty, like that's not the same. We're in war right now. And I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to think. So you may be thinking, how is this analogy going to help us? Well, I'm getting there. And I want to go back and address your comments too. But the point is that I made a decision that has affected me through my whole life in traveling. And that is that I decided that yes, I would have a list, but that I would actually just allow myself to be in the moment and to really just be guided by God to look at this thing, and to know that the other stuff wasn't going anywhere. I mean, that stuff has been there for a very long time, and I just have to trust that it's not going to go away, and that there's a lot of things that are just out of my control. Because the truth is, when you go anywhere, when you're part of any journey, that you're not going to see everything. It's just not. It's not possible. It's not physically possible. It's not humanly possible. So for if I went through the whole list that Rick Steves had, there could be somebody else making another list in the Rough Guide, or Lonely Planet, or whatever book I had, of other things that I needed to see. And when you're in a city like Venice, where there's just history everywhere. There's little things that you're not going to see. I mean, there's some things that you can see only if you're with a local who knows where to point you to look at things. I mean, that happened to me in Bologna. I was with people who grew up there, and they were showing me things that only a local would know. And so my point is that you can make yourself crazy trying to take in everything, trying to participate and take in and understand and absorb and take part in everything that's coming at you. And a lot of people get upset because you can't fix it. It's out of your control. And so I really wanted to encourage you to dial it back if you can, especially during Christmas, and really just, kind of stop and pray and ask God, what is it that you really want me to focus on right now? Where do you want me to put my attention? What is it that is within my control? How can I be more effective? How can I be more intentional? I think those are really important questions to ask. And, the psalmist says, one thing I've asked of the Lord that I will seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord and meditate in his temple. And that is what the psalmist David wanted. He just wanted to be in the house of the Lord. He just wanted to meditate in his temple. Now, does that mean that you just check out and that you don't do anything? I don't think that's what that means. I think it means that, he's meditating on the Lord, and that means that there's communication. And so he's letting the Lord direct him. Okay, this is where I want you to focus your energy and your attention. And I think if people adopt that strategy, adopt that mindset, I think that it's going to bring you a lot more peace about where you are, because there's always going to be something that's demanding your attention. There's always going to be something. And so I really want to encourage you about that. And I know it's a simple concept. It's a simple concept, but it's really important, because I think that, you can get yourself to where you're not in a place of peace. And when that happens, You miss everything. And that was what I was finding when I was traveling, is that because I was so anxious about the schedule and about getting to the next thing, that I was missing what was right in front of my face. And so thankfully it didn't take too long for me to come to that realization. And when I met people and when I started having conversations with people, it wasn't I wasn't caught in the sort of cycle of competing with them, and saying, well, I went here and I saw this and I did this. It's just, I didn't get caught in the cycle of comparing lists of, what I saw and what I knew about and what I experienced. It was my own experience, and that's what was important. And, and so take that analogy for what you will, and hopefully it will help you to get a handle on what is no doubt information overload, especially if you're new in this space and you feel like there's just so much to absorb. Get centered on God. Take a really good long look at what He wants you to prioritize. Okay. Now I want to look something up because I think I just looked at your comments. Okay, so Ponte Milvio is the bridge in Rome. It's been so long since I've been there. I'm trying to figure out the one church in Venice that it was. I have to go back and get my journals because I had it there. It was Santa Maria del. I can't remember because I said it was Santa Maria Maggiano, but Maggiore, but that is, Lydia corrected me on that. That's in Rome. Yeah, now I can see it. I can see that particular structure. I've been there. But I can't remember which one it was. I thought it was called, hold on a second. Now, see, this is bugging me. It's bugging me. I'm going to have to go back and look at all my books. I'm going to go pull out my, oh, here we go. I think it's Santa Maria della Salute. I think that's what it is. No. Is that the one? That could be. Okay. Anybody who's a Venice historian could help me with that, because I could go down a rabbit trail on this. Okay, let me see. Let me look at my list here, see if I left anything out today. Talked about the White House. One thing I will say about that White House, about the proclamation or the curse, take it seriously, and as a Christian, reject that, because it really is a curse over you and your family that's being put out by the cabal. They want you to die. And you don't have to receive that. You can reject that. Sean Foyt put out a statement about that. He said, and he underlined the curses. He said, I reject that curse over me and my family. I will not receive it. I will not take part in that. And I think that's important for people to understand, that you don't take part in that you don't accept it, that you don't receive it to your family. And because one of the things that has happened during this whole thing is that people have been gripped by fear. And, when they make these kind of proclamations and curses, it's easy to walk in the place of fear and to allow this next big thing to be the one that is your undoing. And it's easy to kind of like stumble into a place of fear because you think, okay, this one, I made it this far. I made it this far, but I don't think I'm going to get any further because this is like the big one. It's easy to fall into that mindset, and so be very careful about that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what happened yesterday too with Senator Manchin because this is a big deal. He is a Democrat and he opposed the ridiculous Build Back Better bill that had just incredible amounts of, I'm not even going to call it pork. I mean, it was a big money laundering scheme. I mean, they had, clean energy and climate resilience, $235 billion. Climate related tax breaks, $325 billion. Insane other $260 billion. And they're out here virtue signaling and saying, there's not going to be any more child care, there's not going to be any more child tax credit, blah, blah, blah. Here's the one that really gets me, is that people on insulin aren't going to be able to afford their insulin. Well, you guys know why that is. It's because Brandon, the day that he took office, reversed President Trump's order on affordable insulin. And so it went back up to $1,000 or whatever people have to pay for it, even with insurance. It was like $15 before. And we're talking about insulin dependent diabetics. I mean, I know a person who recently moved. They had to go, they use insulin. They hadn't been able to get a good affordable source in their new state. They actually had to drive to another state where they used to live, go to their former doctor and get a prescription and get it filled at their prior pharmacy to get the affordable insulin until their health insurance kicked in because they changed jobs. And the crazy thing is that they stayed in a hotel. So for them to drive to the other state, stay in a hotel, go to that doctor, and get the prescription at the prior price based on the former prescription, the relationship they had with that doctor, that they were able to get like a credit from the doctor there. That's what it was. It was like a prescription credit, sort of like a Good RX thing. That was cheaper to go and get the insulin in that state. They had to like leave their kids with relatives. I mean, it was crazy. This is what they were forced into because of Brandon's undoing Trump's policy of affordable insulin. And these people are out there telling you that the Republicans have just squelched people's ability to get affordable insulin. I mean, that to me is the most hideous, vile act, just the most hideous lie. But it's such a manipulation. But with this bill, they thought that they had it in the bag. And Joe Manchin, the Democrat from Kentucky, said no. And, they were making it sound like he just, that he had promised a yes and that he, let down the White House. Jen Psaki put out a whole statement on his treachery and how horrible it was and how, poor people would be denied, all this crazy stuff. But here's the thing. Okay, you're Joe Manchin. You're from West Virginia. What is the main industry in West Virginia? Coal. Coal, right? And, and your people in your state don't necessarily want, solar energy and wind farms and things like that. They don't want that. And they're not supportive of Brandon. They didn't vote for him. What are you going to do? Like if you're a senator from a state like West Virginia, I mean, Hillary Clinton came out and said, we're going to put a lot of coal miners out of business. Like their agenda is it's not hidden. We know what they're doing. They want to destroy, they want to destroy an entire industry, an entire generational way of life and tell these people to go learn to code. and they're saying that Manchin is betraying the American people. It's not his job to represent all of America. It's his job to represent his state. And if it comes down to it, before the 17th Amendment, the senators were actually chosen by the state legislature. I believe that West Virginia has a Republican state legislature. So either way, he's there representing the state of West Virginia. He's not there representing the progressive radicals up in D.C. And he's definitely not there to represent the globalist agenda. Now, does that mean he's perfect? No, it doesn't. I'm just saying that he made a decision that was the best thing for his state. And the crazy thing is, these people are acting like the whole entire future of the world rests on Joe Manchin, and that it's all his fault that they didn't get what they wanted. You should read like the histrionics that you see on Twitter with the blue checks on Twitter. It's kind of hilarious because they're like, it all just depends on this one man, and we have to reform the whole Senate. And why should a state with X number of citizens get the same vote in the Senate as a state like California? It's like they don't understand how anything works. I mean, okay, there's this thing called the House of Representatives. That's how that works. But it's very interesting. So I think there's a lot happening that we're not aware of, but I think there's a lot of winning going on. And as usual, I'm not going to get through my whole list. I may be able to do that another day this week. I may be able to stay on a little bit longer, but it is 1:06. I've been on for an hour and 6 minutes right now. It's after 2. So I do need to get going, but hopefully we were able to get a little bit of this. Hopefully I was able to bring some value to you today and to help you navigate a little bit of what's going on, and to give you some prayer points and some things to really think about. And I mean, there's so much going on, but like I said, just take some time to be in the moment. To really, it's a time for reflection anyway, a time to be thinking about, okay, what is it that you want me to focus on, God? I can't focus on everything. So I do encourage you to do that. I want to put in a plug here at the last minute to make sure people know, if you haven't already jumped on board with our Superfoods challenge that we're doing in the new year, please jump on board with us on that. I want to read you guys something that somebody sent me about their experience with Superfoods. This is amazing. So this person said, they said, I just want to brag on Superfoods. I had my annual cardiac appointment with labs and a hematology appointment with labs by 2 different doctors in 2 days, and my labs were outstanding. My overall cholesterol dropped several points. My good cholesterol, HDL, rose. My LDL dropped 21 points. And my iron level quit dropping and had leveled off. Both doctors asked me what I was doing. They were amazed, and both told me good work and to keep it up. I just had to share this with you. So this is amazing. I mean, it's food, right? And sometimes I think people underestimate just what the impact is on your body and your overall health when you actually put real food into your body. And that's what our Superfoods is. It's organic, non-GMO, plant-based, no soy, no GMO, no starches, fillers, modifiers, anything like that. It's the realest food you can get. And so I want to let you know that you can order and you can get a promo code from me to save over $100 off of a 30-day supply of the Superfoods. It works out to about like $11 a day. Like one of our green shakes is about $3 a shake. It's amazing. You can't get I mean, it's living food. It's like going to a juice bar. It's crazy. And you guys know, if you've been in any restaurant lately, I was out over the weekend and we wanted a burger. So, we went to Five Guys, and it was $8 for a single cheeseburger with like white bread bun, a piece of cheese. That wasn't including anything. That wasn't fries, anything. And I hardly ever eat in places like that. And I had a little sticker shock. Think about that. I mean, yes, ground beef is expensive, but wowza, taking a family in there. What I'm saying to you is, I know that everybody doesn't eat out, but when you look at our superfoods at the cost per nutrient, it's really the best bargain that you can get. It's amazing, and it's going to give you way more nutrients than anything you could get at Five Guys. Even though they use real potatoes, I get that they're probably GMO. The other thing is you can order CBD. Go to shopwithmarygrace.com to get a link for CBD, and then go to info@marygracemedia.com to get the Superfoods promo code. All right. So I didn't want to forget that. Let me just see your chat here. I will be back. I will be back on Wednesday at 1:00 with a live show. What did Vicky have to say? The holiday food has been having a pull. Oh, definitely. Yeah. And here's the thing, guys. The thing that I love about superfoods is that it really isn't like a system of depriving yourself. It's a way to transform and to get yourself into a healthy way of eating that gives you balance and deals with inflammation, but that gives you just a lot of freedom in your life, so that if you are eating, Christmas foods, that's okay. It's wonderful. So write to me, info@marygracemedia.com. Let me put my other header up here today. What's today? Today is 12/20. Where's my header that I had up here? There we go. Whatever I put up there. No, that's not right. Where did I put it? There we go. That's better. Okay. Whatever I end with is what shows on my thumbnail on the channel. All right. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon. And I hope that everybody is in a good place. Oh, Millie says GMO is the least of your worries with potatoes. It's the 11 different carcinogenic pesticides. Yeah, that's crazy. And which in our superfoods regimen, we actually have something that helps get those pesticides out of your body. So info@marygracemedia.com. I'll see you guys on Wednesday at 1:00. Thank you for being here. Thank you to my moderators. Thank you to Delia for taking notes. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. Take care.